lunch in Hawaii and all my insomniacs in Italy. Hi, I'm glad to be here. I can tell where I am, the City World. I haven't mentioned this in a while, but we still have that same crooked, wrinkly banner that does not set up like a red carpet event. Sitting with me as always, a woman that's creepy and kooky and mysterious and spooky and altogether ooky. It's Jade Zabrick. So, we're sitting here today, and I have a guest. I have two guests. And I'm doing what I always wanted to do when this show first started. Despite all the music I play, despite all the things I talk about, how I make fun of every important thing I can think of, I really wanted to talk to everyone who's creative, who actually puts things together in their mind and finds a way to give it to the world to hear and to see. Sitting with me today is the playwright and director of the new upcoming play, The Kahn Brothers' American Story. It is George Furman and Katrine Hilbay. Hello.
Hey.
Hi.
How you doing? Thanks for having us.
I'm glad you're here.
Yeah.
I'm glad you're here.
Great
What are we
to
doing?
celebrate your 100th show with you.
I couldn't think of anything better. It worked out well. I didn't know what I was going to do. And before we even go further, can you hear everything okay? Would you like it louder?
I can hear you. I can't hear you through my headphones, but that's
Wait, let's find out. Let's see. You're in 3.
Yeah.
How about now?
not through the headphones, but I can hear you fine. Can you hear me?
No, that's not fine.
I can't hear you through the headphones either, but I can hear you.
Yeah.
What? They cannot hear me through the headphones, but they can hear me.
Yeah.
And I am.
Close proximity.
But you should be able to hear me through
and
the
your
headphones.
Lips. We can read your lips, right? Yes. Okay. I can hear myself.
How about now?
Yes, I can hear you.
Things are louder now.
Yes.
So it turns out
my
that
God.
this new box needs to be turned up at least halfway because, well, it's cheap. So, and this is what I risked a rib for last week. Oh, Lord. Tell us about your play.
Okay. Well, The Brothers Kahn, an American Story. Originally, I was going for, well, I should say that, I'm a psychotherapist by trade. I have been doing that work for many years.
I'm glad you're here.
Exactly. So, my interest, I was really sort of stimulated by the Boston bombers, the Sarnoff brothers, or I'm not really pronouncing their name right, but at any rate, they were brothers who immigrated here they were Chechen descent, but they came from Kazakhstan. And I was really curious as to what motivated them. Why did they do what they did, And I wasn't looking for the simple answers that, it's radical jihad, it's the us and them kind of binary thing. I was looking for something a little deeper in terms of what it was that was actually going on and in their lives. And so that led me to explore that in great depth, do a lot of research, and from that came this play. Now, this play is not about them. It started off, kind of being inspired by them, but then it morphed into a very different kind of vehicle. It is still about two brothers. They are still Chechen immigrants to America, but it is not the Boston bombers.
Okay.
Yeah.
And it's opening up at the Broadway-bound Theater Festival.
Yes, exactly, which is a great theater festival.
Okay.
Opens. The festival itself runs from August 4th through the 26th.
Okay, that now leads us to the lady on your right. Katrine, how did you come on board for this play as the director?
Well, George contacted me. I get a text message one day, and he got a list of about 20 directors. I was told a lot later, of which I was, as he flatteringly told me, of the upper 5. And he asked if I was interested in reading his play, and he talked about the festival, and I said, yeah. So I read the play, and then George is based out of San Francisco, but he came to New York, and we met, and that's how I got on board.
Mm-hmm.
That sounds so simple.
Wasn't
I
quite
never heard of anybody getting a job in any kind of entertainment that makes it sound that simple, and it really was.
Well,
Did you make her sweat? Did you make her sweat? Put her through the paces?
What we did, we had kind of a speed dating event at, what was it, Le Pan Quotidien.
Yes, it was. And actually close not that far from this area.
Right, exactly.
Yes, it was close to Chinatown. What is interesting about how directors get jobs is that we do everything that we're told to do. Namely, we have a website, we network, we go to other people's shows, and we talk a good game or do the best thereof. But then the jobs come your way always, 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 not in any predictable way. So George had, the reason that I was on George's list at all was through a playwright that I met about 10 years ago through a producing organization, Theatre Resources Unlimited, that I'm still a very happy member of, and I'm an alumni of their self-producing artist program. And William Rutzheim was also connected through that organization. I never worked with William. We spoke a number of times because we both worked on material about Ezra Pound at the time. And then he went back into the far, far reaches of the West Coast. And then 10 years later, I get a text from someone connected to him. So
there you go.
It's lovely. I mean, that's the craziness and the serendipitousness of our business.
Exactly.
Yeah.
That sounds good to me.
Yeah,
I'll
yeah.
wait for that phone call one day. I'll be broadcasting to everyone, including the space station.
Right.
How did you go about casting your play? Did you get someone from that part of the world? Did you find someone who can pull it off?
Yeah,
How do you do
good
it?
question. Good question. Well, first, what I had already planned before my play was accepted, the Broadway Bound Theater Festival is a curated festival, which means that people from all over the country submit their plays, and then they jury them and they decide from that offering how, what plays they're going to choose. So before that process happened, I had prepared to bring the play to New York to workshop it. I wanted to have it here. I have the best actors, the best directors, the best of everything here. So that was my intent, which we did. We did that in April for a week. And at that point, it was really Katrin that actually pulled together the actors for that workshop. So that was a different process. Then when we got into the process of actually casting it, we put out the call on the kind of the usual places like Backstage and other kinds of places like that. And I personally went through every actor on that, looking for somebody who I thought could relate to this play, could relate to the background, had an understanding and appreciation of the cultural issues that were involved in this, and actually reached out to them and asked them to come and audition, which many of them did, which was great. And then, of course, we did the regular audition process and callbacks and all that.
And then, Katrine, you get to approve them, or you work together in approving, or
we worked together. Well, we
you throw anyone out?
No, we did the auditions together. What I did, though, what I usually don't do, but this time I really handed over the pre-selection of who comes to audition. I handed that over to George completely, because he had very specific notions of what he wanted, and the last thing that I want to do is cast someone the playwright / producer isn't happy with. And so I said, okay, how about you do the pre-selection, you go about, it's also your choice, you're the producer, whether you want to hire a casting director or not, your prerogative. I will be in the room, audition people in the room, and then we'll decide who we think is the best for the parts. And it was actually, the selection was hard, but what was not hard was us working together. That was
it sounds good.
Surprisingly
easy.
Yeah,
So.
That's lucky.
Yes.
Yeah,
that's lucky. I've had directors from my company where I want to hit them over the head with a Nerf bat.
I've been through that. Yes.
I did not forget, people. Yes, we do have a phone that is working, and I'm going to give you the phone number. I'm going to take 5 seconds. Go get a pen and paper. There you go. 646-690-2976. 646-690-2976. Feel free to call in. Interrupt us in the middle of a sentence. We want you to. We are also camped out on Facebook on my page. We are on Katrine's page. So go to Katrine Hilbay's page. Leave a question or a comment. If you're too shy to call in, we will be happy to read it live on the air. And if you leave something a little personal or embarrassing, we'll get you. Hello to everyone on Live Me. We are also broadcasting on the internet all over the place. All over, including the space station. And I hear that with this desperation with Mars, the people who are like checking the place out are watching us also. Hi. And that is what's going on from a tech standpoint. You have a knot in your neck?
Oh, those knots in my neck, they live with me. I'm just sort of
Charge
cuddling
rent?
them, yes.
Katrine's sitting here trying, like everyone else, trying to reach across the front of her body to the back of her body to give herself a massage. This is an impossible task. I know there's a ball in here somewhere you can lay on it if you want, like, really get it. Or we'll just bring
fine.
someone in.
No. I work with the tensions in my neck and shoulders. It's also part of the job. So you just
I guess. Tell
Yes.
us more. Tell us about you, George. Tell us about you, how you got to where you are now.
Sure. About 10 years ago, I was working for the Department of Defense on bases, Army bases in Germany, and I was working with soldiers who were coming in and out of Iraq and Afghanistan, and also with their families. And I was actually assigned to the Child Development Center, working with the staff there, and I was so impressed with the women. You know, these were the wives, for the most part, or the girlfriends of the soldiers who were going into these, this extremely dangerous environments, and many of them had kids there at the center, and so they had to juggle and somehow manage the stress of everyday life, not knowing whether or not their loved one was going to come home, in a box, or whether or not they're going to come home maimed or in some way or another.
Like the police and fire department. They're waiting for the phone call.
Yeah, exactly. And so I was so impressed with those women that when I came home, I wrote a play about it. And that led me to go to the Playwrights Foundation in San Francisco to begin to kind of work with people to analyze the play, to really strengthen my skills as a playwright. And from there, I started working with Will Dunn, who's a expert playwright and teacher, and he comes in and he does a monthly weekend workshop. And so I've been a part of that workshop. It's only for 12 playwrights, and I've been a part of that workshop now for 8 or 9 years. And
That's
so,
great.
yeah, and so I have had some plays that have had success. One of them was here in New York.
Okay.
It's called Arousal.
Okay.
So
Now, this play, The Brothers Kahn, does this start off as like a one scene, one act type of thing that expanded, or did you write a full play?
Yeah, no, it's a full play. It runs about 110 minutes. It's a one-act play, so there's no intermission.
Katrine's shaking her head.
Well, my understanding is 70 minutes redefines a full length.
Okay.
Yes, I
Just
know.
jump in.
But just the play runs about 70 to 75 minutes.
Oh, what did I say?
100.
You had us sitting there for a while.
Yeah.
I hope there's air conditioning.
Let's not scare the audience.
I'm sorry.
Did you forget to direct a couple of scenes?
So I was
Right.
thinking,
Oops.
I was thinking an hour and 10, an hour and 15.
Exactly. And that's exactly it.
Yeah.
It's an hour and 10.
All right. So
Anyway,
you have,
yeah, it's a full length.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
that's great.
Yeah.
Now, okay, we'll go to Katrine. Tell us about the Broadway Bound Festival, and how do you get there?
Well, in this case, I'm riding on George's coattails, because what is really specifically different about the Broadway Bound Theatre Festival is that it encourages playwrights to self-produce. So George, as a playwright, is now turned producer. And that is actually because often it's directors who start producing, as I do, I self-produce, or actors. But playwrights often still feel very much that they need to wait for a company to pick it up, or a producer to pick it up, or someone else. And that is really the only festival that says we want this playwright driven.
With all of today and the internet, and
Yeah.
there's so many ways.
Exactly.
Exactly.
But the Broadway Bound Theatre Festival, really, their thing is we want this to be playwright driven. And they also have a reading series, and they have sort of a year-long sort of ensemble or community that they are trying to build. This is, I believe, the second year they're doing this festival.
Second?
Yes, and it's at the 14th Street Y, which is a beautiful venue. I mean, it's beautiful equipment, nicely kitted out. So for me as a director, it's a pleasure to work there, even in festival environments where you have, where you have, short setups. Yeah, but in a festival environment, obviously you have much shorter setup time, and you have to set up and strike very quickly. So it's every fringe festival in the world is modeled on the mama of all festivals, which is the Edinburgh Festival Fringe. And once you've done that, you're pretty much slotted in. You can manage every other.
Since you're working on short time, do you bring in extra people to help you move things around, or do you make the cast grab the other end and help each other out?
It's usually the cast that helps. We have a scenic lighting and projection designer, and she sort of organizes that. She'll have help in to set up for our tech time, because our tech time is very limited. It's 3 hours, everything. So you really... But for the setup and the strike, it's always easiest to have the cast, because there's so many shows back to back. If you have just too many people underfoot, it actually hinders productivity. Okay. So our cast knows they have to set up and strike. And actors are really, once they know what's going on ahead of time, they want to play. They want to be a part of a process and part of a full production.
They get to learn the other aspects of what's going on.
In this case, because it's a very young cast. But I mean, I took a show 2013 to the Edinburgh Festival Fringe, and that cast was all middle-aged, and they did the same thing. So
okay.
Yeah. I just wanted to add about the Broadway Bound. They are great in terms of educating the playwrights and providing these various, there's like 7 or 8 different packets of information that they provide to walk you through the whole process of producing a play, which is great, because oftentimes, as Katrine said, the playwright is somewhat ignorant of that, even if they've had works produced. So
I'm going to go with a question I've asked Katrine before, and I know what your answer is. Who tells the story, the playwright, the director, or the actors?
This is a collaborative venue. In other words, the work of a playwright is to put the words on the page. The work of the director is to take those words and help the actors, interpret that and put it on its feet on the stage. That's how I see it. And it's a very collaborative process in that way. When we're in the room with the actors, because we began rehearsals yesterday, we have a very traditional kind of relationship in the sense that, I'm not going to be giving notes directly to the actors. That isn't my job. However, Katrine and I can have side conversations. I can, share with her some of my thoughts. But in that room, in that space, she really has the final say.
Or rather, I wouldn't even say I have the final say, but I'm sort of the primary channel of communication. But actually, already in the first days, it's not as if George is here, and he's only here the first week. Mm-hmm. So I'm totally happy for George to speak to the actors. I don't want, obviously, but we're not in a note-giving place right now. We started yesterday, so we're starting the exploration. So there's actually a lot of times where George said, can I share something? And I say, yeah, please go ahead. I mean, because that's why you're here, especially this first week where you're starting the exploration process. I just want to add to what George said about who tells the story. I second what George said. It's the playwright puts it on the page. The director works with the actors. The actors tell the story. But then there's also the 3-dimensional space of the theater and the visuality, the visual quality of a production, the set, the scenic, the costumes, the props, the colors and lights that you choose. We're also working with projection. There's so much about a play that is not words or actors. It's also it's a gestalt. You create a world that has so many elements,
which changes from performance to performance.
Which does.
In a 6-performance week, we can have a lot of different things.
Yes,
right.
on the actor's level,
Yeah.
because, and that is the beautiful thing about live theater, because it's it's a living organism, and the production that deepens, gets better, and sometimes you also have a shitty performance, and sometimes you have a great performance. But obviously, I don't want the projections to be different every night. I mean, that would be problematic.
Well, sometimes you do have a shitty performance, and
Yes,
that's when,
indeed.
after it's all over, you walk up to the actor involved and say, on the back of the neck, and tomorrow.
Actually, it really depends what kind of, because shitty comes in many different shapes or forms. There's shitty where just the energy is not how it should be, and you just have to live through that. Sometimes there's nothing to be done.
That's in a lot of things. Sometimes it's just
Exactly.
not there. Not,
Exactly.
not tonight. Yeah.
And then
Exactly.
there's shitty where you realize, oh, people are just not concentrated, they're lazy, they're bored, or they're just not giving, they're not caring enough. And then, yes, then you need to really be breathe
Unlike
down
in
their
sports, where the manager has the opportunity to change the pitcher in the game, you don't have that chance.
neck. No, but you have, once the show turns over to the stage manager, except with the 3 performance run, I will still be breathing down their necks. So
But that would be fun, though, watching the director run up to the stage, and you hear someone saying she's going to the bull and bringing in the understudy to take it. Not tonight's not your night, kid.
Yeah.
That would be fun to do to somebody.
I think
not-
it's a lot like sex in the sense that, every time isn't, nirvana, but it's always worth it.
Yeah,
So-
sometimes it's
Didn't
just
Woody Allen once say, even the worst time I had sex was still pretty good?
George Carlin's line was, I never fucked a 10, but one night I was with 5 2s. That was his line. It's 924 646 690 2976. Give us a call. Say hello. Ask a question. There are 2 brothers we're talking about. Ask a question about one of them. It's fine. We're easy.
I should say that these are Muslim boys who immigrated to this country, and so the story. I don't know if you've ever seen the movie The Crying Game. Do you remember that?
Years ago,
exactly, years ago. Well, this play has the structure of that, in the sense that when the play first starts, the audience will get the impression like, oh, this is about radical jihadism, right? And even though that is part of the story, that's not really what the story is about. The story is about what's happened to these 2 brothers once they came to this country, and how what happened to them affected each of them and drove them apart. And this play is about the consequences of that and the consequences of immigrating to a new country.
That's a hundreds of years old concept. People
Exactly.
coming and things
Exactly.
changing. Yeah.
Right.
It's always been that way.
Right,
Coming
exactly.
to America, yeah.
Right.
So now the bound part of Broadway Bound.
Right.
So now the play goes on, you have the run. Broadway Bound, what happens next? Is it a hit or miss? Does someone you contact someone? How does this work?
Well, first of all, the good thing about the Broadway Bound, most festivals will, and I'm not sure the terminology here, maybe you know it, Katrin, but most festivals will hold on to some residual rights if they are part of the original production. In other words, if this play went on to be produced by another theater company, then the original theater company would expect to receive a share of whatever the box is, or however that works. Broadway Bound is the only festival that does not take a part of that. So it's really trying to help the playwrights get up on their feet and out there.
So where would the next step be? So it does well here at
Right.
the 14th Street Y.
Right.
Okay, great. Where does it go, if successful? Where would it go
Well,
next?
ideally, it'll be picked up by somebody, whether here locally or somewhere, a regional theater around the country, and then, sort of go from there. That would be ideal.
So you hope to get it road tested?
Yeah, absolutely. Why not?
Oh, that's great. Okay, that's great. I think that's great.
Yeah.
How do we get tickets for this?
www.broadwayboundfestival.com.
Okay.
Yeah. So
That's
you
great.
just have to go there.
.org? Is it .com?
No, it's .com.
It's .com.
Is
Yeah.
it? Okay. Well, Broadway Bound. Google it. You'll find it. It's there.
Exactly.
I saw it. Do.com, do.org, do.net, do anything you want. Just go to the play.
Let's do it.
Good.
That's
yes.
great. 646-690-2976. This is an original play.
Yes,
This
absolutely.
is it. No one's ever seen it before.
No,
First
totally.
time out. As a playwright, as a director, when is it a good time for an original play? When is it a good time for a revival of a play?
See, I personally don't like the term revival.
Okay, bring one back. We'll reuse it.
Well, basically, any play, only because it's been done before, it's still a valid play. And there's no revival because you're not remounting an old production. You're taking a play that has been done before.
That's what you always hear about in the theater.
And
It's a
then-
revival.
Right.
Yeah, I know. I came to this country a couple of years ago and just I still balk at that term because it's a new production of an existing play. So that's also the nice thing about theater. Every production should actually be really, really different. And because if a play has any strength, any depth, any complexity, every director and every team, by the very nature of their artistic sensibilities, would emphasize something else in that script. And often maybe something, if it's a strong enough work of art, something that the playwright never consciously intended. So that is Arthur C. Danto's definition of great art, is a work of art that allows for innumerable strong interpretations. And I think that should be also true for theater, that a really, really good play. Look at Shakespeare. I mean, how many strong interpretations, very
You
different,
can revive
crazy.
Othello whenever you want. Yeah, it seems like everyone does.
Yeah, but that is also true for more contemporary plays. So a new play is always a great thing. It shows that an art is vibrant and alive, and people
Okay,
want to write.
so let's try it this way. When is how do you know when the time is right to bring out an original play or to bring out an established play? To bring one back. We'll do it again. We'll bring in it's a whole new cast. Like if I wanted to bring out this play today, or we're going to bring back Oklahoma. I know it's two different things, but
Right.
how do you know when? We have this theater. We need to do something. How do you know when?
Boy, when?
Is the
It's
timing
rather-
right to bring one back, or is it time for a...
Well, first of all, you can always... First of all, there's so many plays out there. You could basically redo so many of them. You'd never have to write new ones. The great thing
That's
is
true.
that this question is not mutually exclusive. So it's great that constantly new plays are done and constantly established or already produced plays are constantly done. That is also the great wealth of our New York theater scene, which goes down from Broadway all the way down to indie theater, where everything is constantly in the works and done. So for me as a director, obviously, if I'm a freelance director, I look at every project that comes my way, and I don't look at it in terms of established or new, but is this something that excites me, that interests me? As a self-producing artist, it's the same thing. Is this something that I also feel I want to be working on right now? And is it something that I feel I need to share with the world right now?
As a director, is there would there be an advantage to either to an original play or to bring back an established piece of work?
The work is slightly different because
It is, but
but because the big difference, if you work with a published, produced play like what I did a couple of years ago, the Savannah Disputation by Evan Smith, which was at Playwright Horizons and then all around the country in 2008, 9, 10, and so when you decide to bring that on, and it was a co-production with my company and others, you really do it because you think the play is important, has something important to say. What you don't do, you don't go work with the playwright on the play and dramaturge it unless he's or she wants to do that.
Okay.
And we actually reached out to Evan Smith and was very gracious and lovely and wanted to see the show, couldn't. But for him, that play was done. He's moved on. There are a couple of things in that play I would have loved to discuss with him, but so you basically then just take the work as is. Whereas with a new play, and that's why this workshop in April was so beneficial, is we had the actors in the room, and I chose actors for their quality as actors, but also I wanted people who I knew were really smart and creative talents in the room, because this was not about directing a reading or production, but this was really about kicking the tires of the script. And we had a wonderful dramaturg in the room with us, Laura Lundy, and between the three of us on this side of the table and the four actors, we really pulled that play apart for 4 days. And it really benefited the play, but it also allowed me as the director really to get the second and third and fourth layers of that script. So I now know a lot better where it lives. But it also means that in the rehearsal process for now, not everything is written in stone.
No,
you know?
not at all.
Exactly.
And that's why it's so great.
You can't afford to have anything written in stone.
No,
for the
with a
most
new
part.
play, and that is so wonderful, because and that is why when George asked me, so do you want me to be in the room for rehearsals? Should I not be? How do you want to do that? I said, well, ideally you're there for the first week. After that, it's going to be boring for you because nothing will look right and you'll just be frustrated, and then you might as well come back. But in the first week, that's really where the exploration of the text and with the characters, and that's where you being in the room is immensely beneficial. So,
George, what do you think? What do you think?
What do I think? Well, I think this has been an incredible process. It's so enlivening, to write something and then to work with other people who are interpreting it, who are saying those words, who are bringing these characters to life. I mean, I don't know if there's any other experience like it, frankly.
Okay. Okay. If you were going to bring back a play, what would you like to see come back?
Well, I saw one of the best productions that I've ever seen was a stage production actually in a community college, and it was in New Jersey, where I'm from, and it was One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest. And it was one of the most powerful pieces I have ever seen.
With the right actor, yeah.
Oh, my God, it was so incredible. And they did so much with so little.
They had a good Nurse Ratched?
Yes. Oh, man. She was intense. But what they could do with a small space and with very little.
A lot, yeah.
It was just astounding to me.
Well, I have mentioned to people when I first started this, I know I've told you this, actors at the beginning levels, I'll say the base levels of what they're doing. They have no voice. No one knows who they are. They're trying to get out. They're trying to get out there to be seen, to be heard. And someone said, well, why do you want them? I said, well,
right.
I said, well, yeah, I could do like a New York One thing with that guy who stands in next to the world's greatest actor in the world's biggest theater where they have all the money to give you the greatest show. I said, I want someone who doesn't have that. I want to know what happens when duct tape doesn't work. Mm-hmm. I want to know what happens when you have to buy a new shirt and there's no more money for a new shirt. Mm-hmm. So, or as I put it to someone else, whether you do $1,000 production or $1 million production, if you're doing something like Streetcar Named Desire, at some point in time, some poor schmuck has to scream Stella, and you're compared. Even if no one knows you did it, someone is waiting to see how you pull this off. Right. So I'd like to know what the beginning actor has to say. Mm-hmm. And that's just how I always equated it.
Yeah.
That's just me.
Yeah.
But
a beginning actor, I mean, for me, a beginning actor is somebody who has had training, and may not have been in a lot of productions, but really understands the process and has skills and tools that they bring to it.
By the time John Wayne became a star, he had over 100 movies under his belt. He knew what he was doing, but no one knew him. No one knew him yet.
Right.
So
Exactly.
I'm not looking for someone who just says, I want to be in a play today. I want someone. I was looking for people that no one knew that I'm with today, Lisa, whatever name, and someone says, "Who the hell is that?" Because as I explained to somebody once, at some point in time, someone said, "Elvis who?" So that's what I was thinking. I was always thinking if there were two plays I'd like to see brought back. If there are two plays, One I've discussed many times because of everyone's talk about racism, which I always said The Great White Hope.
Mm-hmm.
And the other one would be probably more successful in film, but the other one would be The Bad Seed. You familiar with The Bad Seed?
No, but I remember you speaking about it before.
Everybody wants to kill that kid. So it's a great piece of work. It does not require a fortune of setting. It doesn't require a fortune of anything. And there are plays that, well, The Great White Hope will probably be a little more expensive to do, but there are plays that do not require a fortune to pull off. And some are done quite frequently. I mean, you can always find someone doing 12 Angry Men, a bunch of tables, a bunch of chairs and a couple of tables. But there are some productions that are overlooked, and the Bad Seed really did start on stage. And I will send you the movie on your Facebook.
Okay,
You'll
good.
get a kick out of it.
Yes,
and then
I'll watch it
this is
right
it.
after the Crying Game.
Look, I told someone Requiem for a Heavyweight, and I went to the
Wow.
Playhouse 90 version with Jack Palance, and, well, they were too young to know what I was talking about,
Yeah.
but it's not something that would require a fortune of setting. Because
Right.
it's about a boxer who's shot. He's punchy. His license has been taken away. He is, to me, Jack Palance is the definition of pathetic.
Uh-huh.
He is pathetic.
Right, right.
And
It's a great
'cause he's-
piece.
And yeah, it is a great piece. But it doesn't require boxing. It doesn't require a
Right.
ring. It doesn't require all these things. Think about the sets. He's in a bar. He's going to a room. You can adjust the story according to staging. You know, you can adjust a few things, but the basic premise of the play doesn't require a fortune.
Right,
And
right.
a lot of technical whatever. Lights.
Yeah.
And a couple of pathetic people. That's all you
Yeah,
need.
yeah. I saw an amazing production of Angels in America. It was actually directed by Laura Lundy, which, you know, she was a director and an actor, and now she's doing a different kind of work. But at any rate, it was done in a space that it was no bigger than this room. I mean, the workspace, the stage, was no bigger than this room, and it consisted of a table and maybe 2 chairs, and that was it. That was it. And, you know, it was like compelling because you were just drawn into the characters in a way that I think there were no distractions. And since the actors were so good and the material is so great, it was just an astounding piece to watch. It doesn't take much.
No.
I mean, we have, for this play, this is a full production, meaning that we have, you know, we have sound design, we have scenic designers, we have lighting designers, we have costume designers. I mean, it's all there, you know what I mean, to pull this production together. And so, but even with that, it's done in a way that is, I don't know, it captures, I think, you know, sort of, at least on paper, it's capturing, you know, kind of so many different aspects of this story through light and through sound and through, you know, projections and costuming and stuff like that, but at a relatively minimal cost, you know, not a huge expense.
So much the better.
Exactly.
Minimal cost. Money left for dinner after the show. This is great.
Well, it's not that minimal.
There's always enough money for a beer after the show.
There you go. Yeah, someone has an emergency 20 left over.
Yeah.
You can get a 6-pack.
Thank God.
Yeah.
I think it's great. I think I like the concept of Broadway Bound. I hope someone bound for it actually gets there, and I hope
Yeah.
it's you.
Oh, thanks.
And do you have another play in the works? I know
Yes,
writers are always
yes.
writing.
Right, right. Well, I have a play that is, there's 2 pieces. Aside from Arousal was originally just a 45-minute piece, a 1-act, so I'm turning that into a full length. But there's 2 other pieces that are kind of ready to be launched. One is another drama, it's a 4-character piece about this particular family. But the other piece, which really has my both of them have my heart, but this one I really love writing about because it's a story about this family. And the father was an English professor, and he specialized in Edgar Allan Poe, and he idolized him. And he loses his job during the Great Recession, and then the mom also loses her job, and so she's able to do some minimal work. But the father he has two kids, one of whom he's named Raven, and the other he named Annabelle. I don't know if you know anything about Edgar Allan Poe, but those are relatively
those
significant.
kids are doomed.
Exactly. But it's a comedy.
Good.
It's a comedy. It's so much fun to write. So yeah.
Well, especially as a detox for this play,
Right.
because the one thing you can say about it's no comedy.
It's not a comedy, but it is an intense drama.
Oh, someone will get a laugh somewhere.
Well, there are a few laughs.
Yes, they are, and I'm
Thank
actually
God.
I'm digging out
Yes.
them in my direction. Especially there's the one scene that has a modicum of levity, and
Yes.
I'm like doing the best I
You
can.
sort of need it. You,
Oh yeah,
Totally.
yeah.
you sort of have
yeah.
to be able to laugh at the worst situations.
Yes,
Right.
Even if it's at yourself, you got to laugh.
But it's also, especially if you have a play like The Brothers Kahn that has such an intense build that is, you can't be like a kitten on the ledge all the time. I mean, you have to
Right,
go back
break.
down. You have to sort of ease into it. Otherwise, you're basically slitting your wrist from minute one. It's like, 75 minutes of this. No.
It's 9:43. We're doing pretty good here. It's going by fast. So I might as well do a little business. Oh, man. Business. You've heard me say this a zillion times. Everyone should be heard. Everyone, not every last rambling thought in your head, but in general, everyone should be heard. If you have an idea, if you have a good idea, you think it's a good idea, you should tell it to someone. You should try. If you have any thoughts of getting your voice out there, contact us. cityworldradio@gmail.com. cityworldradio@gmail.com. Give it a shot. Send in an email. Someone will get back to you pretty quick. You don't have to make a career out of it. Do it one time. You'll have a new story to tell with your friends. They'll call you up. They'll bother you. They've called me up and bothered me. But yes, when I keep saying that everyone should be heard, I really mean it. When I say I want the actors at the beginning levels, it's because no one on television is finding them to interview them. I want them. I want people who need a voice, who I've studied just as hard as the person on the big billboard. I want people who can say, I can dance too. I can trip the lights fantastic on Broadway. I can do whatever it is it takes. I can do it just as well as someone who used to be at the same level I am. And this is the people I like to hear from. If you have an idea and you want to express it, tell us about it. Come out here and tell us about it. I always joke around that I'm an idea man. Well, I am. But when I'm not an idea man, I actually have a couple of decent ideas. So I want to tell people about that too, and we want to hear from you. So again, give a shout. Give a little email, cityworldradio@gmail.com, and someone will contact you. And, and if you feel like it, write to me, upfrontfrank@gmail.com, upfrontfrank@gmail.com. Tell me what you think. Tell me you love me. Tell me you hate me. Just tell me something, and I'll be happy to respond accordingly. So that's the story. It's 9:45. Where are we going with this now? Because we've covered it. Let's hear one more time. How do we get tickets for the show?
www.broadwayboundfestival.com. Yes, that's
Okay.
the place to get the tickets.
Okay, that's easy enough.
Mhm.
Is it an expensive ticket? I didn't even ask.
$25.
That's not bad.
Seems
Trust me,
reasonable to
people.
me.
You'll spend money in a lot worse places. You'll be spending a lot more money in a lot worse places. Here, you at least get almost an hour and a half time, and you're not going to get in trouble. Just don't get into a fight in the crowd.
And what you're saying, really, what you're getting is the work of more than just one person. It's the work of a whole host of professionals who, are putting together this. I've worked on this. I mean, I've worked on this for years, but now that it's in production, it's a good 4 weeks. 3 weeks of rehearsal, then a week of production.
Opening when?
Opening August 15th, 8:30 show. August 17th, 8:30 show. August 18th, a 5 p.m. show.
Okay, sounds
Yeah.
good. That's busy.
Yeah, it's busy.
That's busy.
It's good, I think, to not have too many breaks in between. you
Oh,
know?
no, that would be terrible.
Right.
No. Especially in the beginning.
Right.
They need to... Actually, ideally, 3 shows is really a pity. Ideally, you should really have a run. It's even a showcase run of 4 weeks or
You
4
may get
weekends.
picked up.
Yes.
You may listen.
Yes.
I told you about a friend of mine who did a one night show.
Nice.
She directed for somebody. Next thing, the Here Art Center called them up. They had to get
Yeah.
funding together. It was a 3-week run.
And as my wife would say, from your mouth to God's ears.
So you never know. 3 nights is a lot more than than other people get.
Oh no, I know. I just know that for actors, it's
They could be first getting going at the 3 shows.
yes,
Yeah.
yes,
Yeah,
yes.
right, exactly.
By the last
that's why you
weekend
need
of a
to work 'em
showcase
hard.
run. Yes, well,
Well,
I'm working myself.
let
hard.
them run extra lines on the train on the way over. It's the best you got. Let them warm up in the hallway.
With a young cast, you never have to worry about getting them off book.
In that case,
Yes,
okay,
that's
they'll be
really-
fine.
They'll
to
be
you, it's
fine.
not enough. To the young cast, they're saying, "I got 3 days.
Yeah.
I got 3 days. We're doing good
That's
here."
true. Yes. No.
Perspective.
Let me just say, we do have an incredible cast. Malka Wallach.
Wallach.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Malka Wallach, Max Beckman, and Almira Kurtik, and Rachel Helper.
Yes.
So really, it's so impressive to watch them do their work. And I can't wait to see them on the stage.
Yes, that's going to be fun.
That sounds great.
Yeah.
That
We'll
sounds
see.
great. All right, that sounds good. I think. What
So,
I'm gonna
Frank,
do-
are you going to come see it?
I might.
Okay.
I may just.
Yes.
I may
Good.
just
Lead
yeah.
the charge.
Lead the charge. You think your fans are following me anyway? Lead the charge. Come with me. We're going in.
Why not?
Why not? Why not?
I'm sure we can find a seat for you. Frank.
I'm sure I'll
You
find
know?
a seat somewhere. But I've been known to stand in the back somewhere just watching.
I know.
Not only do I like to watch what's going on, I like to watch the audience reaction. Even in the dark, you can see what people. You can see their expressions.
Right.
I've learned to see it. It's incredible what people. Even when there's nothing to laugh at, you could see someone smiling.
Right.
You could see the idiot with their texting while
Yeah.
you paid money
God
for a
forbid.
ticket and you're not looking at the stage. You know,
Right.
you could see the looks of the actors looking out into
Mm-hmm.
the stage. I get a kick out of that, and somehow I pay attention to what's going on. And that's how
that's
that works
great.
for me.
You
It's
can
9
multitask.
Yeah, I can multitask.
And you're a guy. You can multitask and you're a guy.
I'm a guy.
Okay.
Guys can do that.
Some guys can do that.
Guys can do that.
Well,
Yeah.
I've not met that many, but I've heard of the concept that men sometimes can multitask.
Oh God. Well, I give it my best. You know, it actually multitasking works well when we're doing laundry because you have that gap of time where you can
Right.
put it in,
Yeah.
go to the store, come back, put it back into the dryer, go do something else, come back. I can multitask. I can even, although my brain multitasks every now and then. I realize I'm having 3 conversations in my head. I'm hearing a song, and I might just be watching a movie in the process. But sometimes your brain just turns on.
That is true.
Somehow
I don't know.
I'm just multitasking.
I'm not sure if that qualifies as tasks.
If you want me to think about the job at hand, sometimes it comes.
that is very true.
Because believe me, if we
Yes.
ever work together, I'm going to be having 3 conversations in my head at one time.
That's probably true.
So
yes.
it's just the way it goes.
I'm glad we have a therapist in the room with us.
Yes.
Oh man, yeah, believe me,
Exactly.
help me, please. After a little bit of time, I'll be saying, "Doctor, give me the news."
Right.
Oh man, and this has been a lot of fun. This really, right? Where is it? Where's that other piece of paper? Where's my other piece of paper? Here it is. Because what I think I'm going to do is there is a song. I don't know. I felt like closing out with a song tonight, but
Beautiful.
I'd like to thank both of you for coming on.
Oh, I'd like to thank
George
you for
Furman,
having us
Katrine
on.
Hilbey, thank you for
you.
being here.
Yes.
I wish you only the best
Thank you.
with your play. I know you want 8 more days of the run, but trust me, the people on stage are saying, I got 3 days. And I hope every show sells out. Jade, can you please find for me song number 1? That's the one. Okay, so before I go, I'd like to say it's been 100 shows.
Yay!
I have not always had a guest.
Absolutely.
I have not always had a guest, but it's always been interesting. This is one of the few things I've done where I've had more fun than I could possibly imagine. One was doing corner work for the fighters at my old karate school, where I got to actually handle the bucket. I closed the cut. I had great fun. Then there's this, And there's been when I was 15, 16, I played paddleball was a big sport at the time. I played the former world champion Howie Hammer.
Wow.
I was a hit with my friends.
That's impressive.
Yeah, so certain things are just the most fun things I can ever imagine doing, and I've had a lot of fun doing this. I thank you, Jade, for putting up with me. It's not like we've never bumped heads before, but I'm glad you're here every week, because otherwise I'd be in deep trouble. So I'm glad you're here. It's 9:52. I'm going to close out with a song, because I always play something with a song, and I'm going to be playing a classic, Night and Day. And not just by anyone you recognize. This is by Screamin' Jay Hawkins. Thank you for tuning in. I will be here with Show 101. Don't know what I'm going to be doing, but I'll be doing it. Have a good night.
Night and day, you are the one. Only you beneath the moon and under the sun. Whether near to me or far, makes no difference, darling, where you are. I dream of you night and day, night and day. Why is it so that this hungry yearning for you follows wherever I go? In the roaring traffic boom, here in the stillness of my lonely room, I dream of you night and day, day and night. Under the hide of me, there's hope that you're hungry and burning inside of me, and my torment won't be through till I spend the rest of my life making love to you night and day, day and night. Oh! The height of me, that oh, that you're hungry and it's burning inside of me, and my torment won't be through till I spend the rest of my life making love to you night and day, day and night.
Voted #1 jazz cabaret club by New York Magazine, the Metropolitan Room is one of the most critically acclaimed venues in New York City and is known as the home for big-name talents and rising stars. Known as a celebrity hangout, the Metropolitan Room is a high-end cabaret and jazz club and brings the best in live music to New York City every night of the week. Fabulous award-winning Broadway, TV, film, and radio performers take the stage in an intimate 115-seat elegant venue. Aside from the great, highly professional artistic shows and audience, Metropolitan Room provides an exceptional appetizer and dessert menu as well as exotic and specialty drinks prepared by top New York City bartenders. The Metropolitan Room is located at 34 West 22nd Street, conveniently located near public transportation. For information or reservations, call area code 212-206-0440. Once again, the area code is 212-206-0440. Or go to their website at www.metropolitanroom.com. Voted #1 jazz cabaret club